Imagine building a business without inventing the next iPhone, without writing a single line of code, without becoming the next Elon Musk. Now imagine that business quietly creates more millionaires and more billionaires than Silicon Valley ever has. Sounds impossible, because for decades we've been told the same story. If you want to become rich, build a startup, raise venture capital, disrupt an industry. That's the Silicon Valley dream. But here's what most people never hear. The greatest wealth machine in history wasn't built in California. It wasn't created by software engineers. It didn't begin with artificial intelligence. It started with something far less glamorous: buying ordinary businesses, improving them, then buying even more. This isn't a story about the next unicorn. It's the story of the business model that quietly created legends like Warren Buffett, John Malone, Henry Singleton, Danaher, Constellation Software, and dozens of billionaires most people have never heard of. Because while the world chased innovation, these people chased ownership, and ownership changed everything. Level 1. The biggest wealth myth. Most people believe billionaires become rich by creating something brand new. Facebook, Amazon, Tesla, Google. Those companies dominate headlines. But headlines don't tell the whole story. Here's a surprising fact. Many of history's richest business builders didn't invent revolutionary products. Instead, they bought businesses that already worked, then made them better. Think about Warren Buffett. Did Berkshire Hathaway invent Coca-Cola? No. Apple? No. American Express? No. Buffett became one of the richest people alive largely by buying ownership in profitable businesses, then letting time work its magic. This sounds simple, because it is. But simplicity doesn't make headlines. Silicon Valley celebrates disruption. Wall Street rewards ownership. And over decades, ownership wins. The average startup has a terrifying future. Around 90% fail. Most venture-backed companies never become profitable. Many disappear completely. Yet investors keep chasing the next unicorn. Why? Because humans love exciting stories. Steady businesses feel boring, and boring rarely trends. But boring can become unbelievably profitable. The first lesson is simple. Wealth isn't always created through invention. Sometimes it's created through acquisition. That tiny shift changes everything. Level 2. The hidden billionaire machine. Let's talk about something almost nobody outside finance discusses: the acquisition holding company. Imagine owning one successful plumbing company. Now imagine buying another, then an electrical company, a roofing company, a software company, a manufacturing business. Each one already makes money. Each one has customers. Each one generates cash. Now all those profits flow into one parent company. Instead of starting over every time, you simply buy proven businesses. This strategy compounds much faster than constantly launching startups. One of the greatest examples is Berkshire Hathaway. Originally, it was a struggling textile manufacturer, hardly exciting, but Warren Buffett transformed it into a giant collection of businesses: insurance, railroads, energy, manufacturing, consumer goods, retail, finance. Each acquisition produced cash. That cash bought even more businesses. Those businesses generated even more cash, which funded even more acquisitions. The machine became self-feeding. This is called capital allocation, and it may be the most valuable business skill nobody teaches. Most CEOs focus on operations. Great capital allocators focus on where every dollar creates the highest return. That difference creates fortunes. Level 3. The billionaire nobody talks about. Now meet someone almost invisible outside business circles: John Malone. Most people have never heard his name, yet he's built one of the greatest fortunes in modern history. He didn't invent Netflix. He didn't build Apple. Instead, he mastered acquisitions, using cable television as his foundation. Malone expanded through strategic purchases. He understood taxes, debt, cash flow, corporate structures. Every acquisition made the next acquisition easier. His empire became a financial engine, not because every company was extraordinary, but because the system was. Then there's Henry Singleton, founder of Teledyne. Business schools still study him today. Singleton bought dozens of businesses. But here's the genius. He didn't buy companies randomly. He bought when prices were attractive. He issued shares only when the market overvalued his own company. He repurchased shares when they became cheap. He constantly shifted capital toward its highest return. Investors like Charlie Munger called him one of the greatest capital allocators ever. Yet outside finance, almost nobody knows his name. Because quiet wealth rarely becomes celebrity. And celebrity isn't required for financial success. Level 4. Why this model keeps winning. Here's why this strategy creates extraordinary wealth. Imagine two entrepreneurs. Entrepreneur A spends 3 years building a company from scratch, finding customers, hiring employees, testing products, losing money, making mistakes. Entrepreneur B buys a business that's already profitable. Customers already exist. Employees already exist. Cash flow already exists. Which entrepreneur starts making money first? Usually, the buyer. That's why private equity firms love acquisitions. But here's the difference. Many private equity firms buy businesses, cut costs, then sell quickly. Long-term compounders play a different game. They keep buying, keep improving, keep reinvesting. Danaher became famous for this. Instead of simply collecting businesses, it developed an operating system. Every acquisition adopted the Danaher business system. Processes improved, efficiency increased, profits grew. Then those profits funded another acquisition. Constellation Software did something similar. Instead of chasing billion-dollar deals, it quietly bought hundreds of niche software companies. Many generated only modest profits. Alone, they weren't remarkable. Together, they became one of the best-performing companies in the world. Small businesses, massive results. The lesson? Compounding doesn't need excitement. It needs consistency. Level 5. The secret ingredient nobody sees. Here's the real secret. The acquisition strategy isn't actually about buying companies. It's about buying cash flow. Cash flow buys assets. Assets create more cash flow. That cash flow buys even more assets. The cycle repeats. Most people spend income. Wealth builders buy assets. Those assets eventually pay for even more assets. This is why billionaires obsess over capital allocation. Every dollar becomes an employee, working 24 hours a day, never asking for a vacation, never sleeping. Think about Berkshire Hathaway again. Insurance companies generate something called float. Customers pay premiums today. Claims are paid later. That temporary money can be invested. Buffett transformed billions in insurance float into investments that compounded for decades. That's financial engineering in its most elegant form. No hype, no flashy product launches, just disciplined capital allocation. And perhaps the biggest lesson of all, the richest entrepreneurs often stop thinking like founders. They start thinking like investors. Founders ask, "What can I build?" Capital allocators ask, "Where should the next dollar go?" That question separates successful businesses from extraordinary fortunes. It's why some companies remain small forever, while others become empires. Because empires aren't built one product at a time. They're built one smart allocation at a time. Conclusion. Silicon Valley changed the world. There's no denying that. It produced revolutionary companies, changed how we communicate, how we shop, how we work. But if your goal is understanding how enormous fortunes are actually built, there's another story hiding beneath the headlines. A quieter story, one built on ownership, cash flow, capital allocation, and relentless compounding. The business model that created countless billionaires wasn't always about creating something new. Often, it was about recognizing value before everyone else did. Buying exceptional businesses, improving them, holding them, then repeating the process for decades. Because wealth doesn't always belong to the loudest innovator. Sometimes, it belongs to the quiet allocator who understands one timeless truth. Money is most powerful when it owns businesses. Those businesses create even more money. That's how fortunes compound. That's how empires are built. And that's why, while the world keeps searching for the next billion-dollar startup, some of the smartest investors are quietly buying the businesses that already work. The biggest fortunes aren't always created by invention. More often than people realize, they're created by ownership. And in the long run, ownership is the business model that never goes out of style.